Everyone, I am Cherry and Marcelo. So we are discussing about the Indigenous People Right Act. So according to Article 12, National Economy and Patrimony or RA 8371, the goals of national economy are more equitable distribution of opportunities, income, and wealth. Next, we have a brief historical background. One of every six Filipino is a member of an indigenous cultural community. 12 million Filipinos are members of estimated 110 indigenous cultural communities or 17% of estimated 70 million Filipinos. The indigenous peoples are among the poorest sector of Philippine society and also among the more powerless. The Indigenous People Right Act was enacted on October 29, 1977 and took effect on November 22, 1997, precisely to address the marginalization and powerlessness of indigenous cultural communities. So what is the Indigenous People Right Act or IPRA? To recognize, protect, and promote the right of ICCS or IPs, create the NCIP, establishes implementing mechanism, approaches funds, and other purposes. Right of ICCS or IPs, rights to ancestral domains and land, right to self-governance and empowerment, social justice and human rights, and cultural integrity. We have also the right to ancestral domain, right of ownership, right to develop lands and natural resources, right to stay in terrorists, right in case of displacement, right to regulate entry of migrants, right to safe and clean air and water, right to claim parts of reservation, right to resolve conflict, right to ancestral land, right to transfer land or property, and also right to redemption. Ancestral domain define all areas generally belonging to ICCs or IPs held under a claim of ownership, occupied and possessed by themselves or through their ancestor communally or individual since time immemorial, so continuously to the present, necessary to ensure their economic, social, and cultural welfare. It includes ancestral land, forests, pasture, residential, agricultural, hunting grounds, burial grounds, worship areas, bodies of water, minerals, and other natural resources. Ancestral land defined, land occupied, possessed, and utilized. Next, by individual families and clans who are members of ICC or IPs. Next, since time immemorial. Next, by themselves or through their predecessors in interest. Next, under claims of individual or traditional group ownership. Next, continuously up to the present, except when interrupted by war, force, manicure, or displacement by force, deceit, state, and as a consequence of government project and other dealing between government and private corporations. So IP concept ownership. So ancestral domain and all resources found therein shall serve as a material basis of their cultural integrity. Next, ancestral domains are ICCS or IPs private but community property which belong to all generation and therefore cannot be sold, disposed, or destroyed. And last, cover and sustainable traditional resource rights, and responsibilities of ICCs or IPs maintain ecological balance, restore denuded forests, and observe laws.
Right to self-governance and empowerment. The state recognized the inherent rights of ICCs and IPs to self-governance and self-determination, and respect the integrity of their values, practice, and institution. Self-governance allows communities to shape their social, economic well-being and future. Under self-governance, bands to develop and enforce their own law regarding education, culture, finance, and land. And also, self-governance and empowerment, self-governance and determination, justice system, conflict resolution institution, and peace-building process. Participation in decision making, determine and decide priorities for the developing tribal barangays. Social justice and human rights. Social justice is all about working towards a more equal society. Part of this is ensuring that people are treated with dignity and respect by those with public powers, and also main goal of human rights. Under social justice and human rights is equal protection and non-discrimination of ICCs or IPs, rights during armed conflict, rights to equal opportunity and treatment, discrimination against ICCs on the terms and condition of employment and denial of benefits, basic services, cultural integrity is the practice of respecting and honoring the ownership of materials, tradition, knowledge that originate from a particular culture or community. The state shall pursue, protect, and develop the past, present, and future manifestation of cultural, intellectual, religious, and spiritual, taken without their free and prior informed consent or violation of their laws, tradition, and costume. Under the cultural integrity is protecting and of indigenous culture, tradition, and institution, education system, recognition of cultural diversity, community intellectual rights, rights to cultural sites and ceremonies, rights to IKSP, access to biological and genetic resource, sustainable agrotechnology development, rights and to receive from the national government funds for archaeological and historical sites. National Commission on Indigenous People is the agency of national government of the Philippines that is responsible for protecting the rights of the indigenous people of the Philippines. This program aims to promote all rights of ICCs or IPs within the framework of national unity and development, and all shall protect the right of indigenous people to their ancestral domains, social and cultural well-being, and the self-governance and self-determination, and respect the integrity of their values, practice, and institution, as well as guarantee and equally enjoy the full measure of human rights and freedom without distinction of or discrimination. The Commission, composition of 7 commissioners, each representing an ethnographic region, one of whom shall be the chairperson, 2 of 7 shall be women. Power and function consist of policy-making body, quasi-judicial body, implementing agency, titling of ancestral domains and land. Policy-making body is in its implementing rules and regulation, guidelines, rules on pleading procedure and practice before the NCIP, and the other instances. Quasi-judicial body. It claims and dispute involving the rights of ICCs and IPs, primacy of customary law, regional hearing officers, rules on pleading practice, and jurisdiction of the NCIP. Conflict involving ancestral lands and domains, cancellation of fraudulent CEDTs or CLTs, violation of FPIC, Section 10 unlawful intrusion, Section 24 employments, Section 33 cultural integrity and property rights. Implementing agency consists of programs and projects. Under the programs, education assistance, legal assistance. Under project is small titling of ancestral lands and domains. Ancestral domains, ancestral lands outside ancestral domains. Ancestral lands within ancestral domains.